Hello and welcome to the Rise of Humanity podcast. I'm your host, Chris Karamyar, and I'm joined today for this episode by my brother, Seb Karamyar. Glad to have you here.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And today we will be discussing Seb's upcoming short film, The Rain, and also we're going to be talking about the power of film as a whole and the transformational effects that it can have on human consciousness. So, Seb, thank you for being here. If you can just talk a little bit about kind of your love for film and how you really sort of started on this journey.
Yeah, so I never used to be interested in film when I was younger, but as I got older and left school, I explored things for myself, and then started watching some artistic films that were more artistic quality than commercial. So then through that, I explored more and more and got to Arthouse films and more complex films. And really it just opened my mind. I think I have a lot to thank for films in general, not just learning about film, but about life. Because really films are hidden lessons, and some of the most intelligent people in humanity create films to teach people, as well as just wake people up and make them think a bit. So through all that, I just thought it was quite amazing. So then I wanted to make my own for a while, and then finally I've got to making this one. So I hope to do the same thing.
Cool, sounds great. Yeah, definitely agree about it's huge lessons that we can learn with films, and I think it's something which a lot of people aren't even like consciously aware of, that they're being potentially taught a huge lesson throughout just the 90 minutes of a film. So
yeah, I agree.
So it's on this journey that you've been on films. Is there any kind of defining moments, like one film you watched or maybe a series of films that kind of really changed everything and that got you onto that path of really, this is something serious for me?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint particular films, but I'd say firstly, the first show was Twin Peaks, because before that I hadn't watched much, and then I watched Twin Peaks, and obviously that's David Lynch, who's a huge figure, and then I read that just gave me so much joy to watch some of such strange things, wonderful things, strange but wonderful. So watching that just gave you a special feeling. So then I saw the potential artistic quality, and then obviously going on to films, probably the first ones that really opened my mind, probably watching Terrence Malick, obviously highly philosophical films, reflective films about existence, just about humanity. And then really, I suppose, onto Tarkovsky's films and films of that kind, but anything really that's just very reflective of human nature. And then I think a lot of it is just subconscious, really. You don't realise what is happening, but over time, when you watch all the films, you pick up the knowledge, and it just goes into your head. But they can be light or dark films. It doesn't matter. But there's a lot of films which aren't maybe like Tarkovsky and Malick, that are more about cinema, using cinema, just the power of it, and using sort of radical forms, which I think it's not always obvious how it affects you, but it goes in subconsciously, and it's the experience itself just is mind expanding, but you don't realise. So yeah, eventually I explored more into them and got onto those, and they're probably my favourite kind.
Yeah, there's definitely a progression. I think that's one of the things that certainly that I want to get through in my teachings through the podcast, is that when you really commit to something and stick to it, the universe always conspires to allow things to fall into place for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even consciously looking for those kind of films, but it just happened. Then it just happened suddenly that I know it seems to give me a lot of knowledge just about humanity, and I feel like I understand people a lot more after these films. But I didn't seek it out; it just happened. So
yeah,
I agree.
It's amazing how things fall into place like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about like the transformational effects on films. I mean, I suppose, like you said, sometimes you're not even aware of it, but sometimes you sit and watch a film and you're just completely mind blown at the end. I mean, you got any kind of? I know I've got a few of my own, but have you got any like specific examples when you sat and watched a film and kind of the effect that it had on you, if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that amazed me, and a lot that can even scare you, but in a good way. But I'd say, just thinking now, maybe another Tarkovsky film, the last one he made, which was a very unusual film. Just the whole time I was in awe. It's called The Sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then, it was just a huge experience, very powerful and just involving. It just sort of throws you into a whirlpool. And then by the end, I just, I just sat there for a bit. And then I just had to write about it, so I wrote a review about it. But really, it just took you to a place that you don't go too much. And like I wrote in my review, it reminded me of a Salvador Dali painting. If anyone's seen them, like, just you look at them, you just can't believe that exists. It's quite magical. So I thought that film took me to that sort of realm where it's really rare, but you can't quite believe that someone else is doing it, but you're overjoyed that someone is able to do it and someone cares to do that sort of thing. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot of films. Obviously, one I watched recently was Arrival, which I didn't expect, but suddenly it really kicks into motion and transforms into something completely different.
That's one of my favourites.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Yeah,
but still, I mean, huge like messages there, and if you look deeply into it, like just kind of the messages of humanity and stuff, it's really quite profound.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I
think it depends what film you're watching, I suppose, but a lot of, I mean, especially, I suppose, some of the more obscure filmmakers, some of the films are almost like a meditative experience.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. I'd say when you get to the highest level, they're all meditations, really, on humanity and society and psychology, philosophy. General people who've lived through life and they've learned a lot, and it's their thoughts onto film. But that's the power of film, because they can do that. They can bring their thoughts onto it, and then we're lucky enough to be able to watch it, and then it's just learning more and more knowledge. Which, like we said earlier, people don't always realise that film can do that, but it can.
Yeah. I suppose, like, you talk about the meditative experience, it's like a lot of people kind of, I think, especially in the mainstream, they resist these kind of obscure films. But it's kind of almost like representative of how a lot of people kind of fob meditation off as kind of, like a weird thing, what's that?
Yeah.
And those, I suppose, in a way, those same kind of people wouldn't watch these films. So it kind of prevents you from delving into them. But when you do, it really provides you with an amazing experience. But you almost have to commit to the film in a way.
Yeah,
I don't know if you found that. Well, I can't remember that film I watched, Harmonies.
Oh, Werckmeister. Oh, yeah.
Werckmeister Harmonies, yeah.
I forgot about that.
That was like, especially right from the beginning, it's almost like a meditation.
Yeah.
You're sitting and watching that. Amazing.
That's another film I forgot earlier, but that was a very profound film. I couldn't quite believe that. But yeah, I agree. It's a lot of these films are intense, and not a lot of people are ready for that. Or they just look to be entertained. Depends whether you want to learn more as well, because these kind of films are for learning as much as anything, not for entertainment. But I think film can reflect a lot about our society itself, that when people don't seek out intelligent, complex films, that shows just in general how they are. don't want to seek out meditation or anything a bit obscure because, it's just not who they are. So.
It's tougher to watch if you can't engage in that deeper way, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
You might kind of always just pass it off as like, what's this?
Yeah, they just think it's bad but you need to get to that level. And you need to push yourself to get there, but it's so much more fulfilling.
Yeah. And I suppose, like a meditative film, like you say, it's the higher levels of film, but also talk about the power of even films that kind of elicit lower emotions, but still, if that's what the level you're at or resonates with you, it can still be incredibly powerful. Like, for example, like Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
That's, on the surface, it's a violent kind of Batman film, but there's still a huge kind of emotional pull from that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Obviously, Dark Knight Rises is obviously a huge experience, but as well as just films that are maybe considered mainstream doesn't exclude it. Because I watched Avatar a few times as a kid, but then when I rewatched it again, I'd say the life philosophy in that is as profound as any obscure film you'll find. That what's in there is the most human thing you'll find in a film. Because if I talk about it, the Na'vi in the film, they realise the universe is connected and we're all one. They realise that, which is what we are all connected here. And it says a lot about people able to just go to places and destroy it because they want to get something from there and they don't care. And they can do it because they got the power. So, and humanity hasn't, few people reach that level of the Na'vi, of that almost transcendental state of realising everything's connected. So it's a very high level, but just because it's Avatar doesn't mean it isn't.
Yeah, that kind of brings me on to the next thing I wanted to talk about, is that that kind of mainstream versus indie art house and the depth within film. Does it really matter what genre or how independent or anything it is?
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, I used to think that. I used to think art house was the only profound thing. I used to watch mainstream and then got to art house, and I think it happens with a lot of people. People become snobbish because you think you've found the most important thing. So you think that's all that matters, but really you got to break out of it, and either you need people to help you with it or you just need to give a film a chance. But I think the couple of films I watched that convinced me of that with those two was Avatar, Dark Knight Rises, and then Line recently as well, which is very powerful and another very human film. But they're all considered mainstream, but it's really not any different. And art house is obviously, a lot of art house is more interesting because it takes things further, and it, depending on who you are, some of it's fascinating. Like Werckmeister Harmonies earlier by Béla, you wouldn't probably see that kind of film mainstream. So it depends what you like to see, but the actual philosophies isn't just art house. It can be in mainstream, but it's just presented in a different format.
Yeah, I suppose on an art house film, it's kind of like the gem is like at the surface. Like it's just in your face. You don't really have to look very hard for it unless you're just not into that at all. But with the mainstream films, you talk about like Avatar and stuff, it's almost, because it's got this shiny kind of wrapping on it, a lot of people just think, oh, it's a big Hollywood film, we'll just forget about that. But if you look deep into it, there's mass. Avatar, the messages in that are huge.
Yeah, universal.
James Cameron's come up with that. It's incredible. The war and the way that they're all interconnected. I think that's just incredible. And there's so many mainstream films out there which are just being appreciated for their kind of cinematic value, which is good, but just there's so much depth in them as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what you said earlier was exactly right, that it's easier to appreciate art house for that profound profundity than mainstream. But I think to see profundity in mainstream actually takes someone who's gone to art house, learn all about that, and then they come back and see it in the mainstream, because it's harder for someone who's just watched mainstream films. They don't really look for that kind of thing.
Mm.
They just look for, just entertainment. But if someone's gone to Arthouse and then come back, they can see the real profoundness inside it. Which I think, helps a lot, helps you to see it.
Yeah, I suppose, you have to kind of go into the depths of it in order to come back out and see it in the whole kind of.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a pretty cool journey to have.
Yeah, and then it's just really joyful to see that films like that do have it in it.
Yeah.
And it's almost as good as finding an obscure film, because you're finding obscurity in a mainstream film. And I think directors who traverse mainstream and Arthouse is a lot harder than full Arthouse. Definitely. Someone like Christopher Nolan. It's hard to do, but sorry, people don't think much of that, but Arthouse people, but it's very hard to do. And full Arthouse is a lot easier because you know where you are, but traversing in between, you've got to get a balance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, another one was Dunkirk by Christopher Nolan, which was really an Arthouse film, but considered mainstream. I mean, that was obviously saw it in the cinema in IMAX. It was a very intense experience, very visual, which is uncommon. Not much dialogue, which is also uncommon. But that's what we like to see, really. Yeah,
I've seen Dunkirk. Amazing experience, very intense. Just on the edge, isn't it, all the way through? There's no holding back. But there's no really. I mean, it's got a big production value, but it's not done in a big fancy way, and it's
it's
really, if that was done with less money, it would be full on Arthouse film, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I wrote a piece on it. I compared it as how I saw it, more of a classical piece of music, because the way it just flowed and the way Nolan put it together reminded me of a symphony and orchestra. It was just so beautifully put together, and so much care and passion. You could really sense his mind working. So I just thought, very, very beautiful creation, even in the face of war. It was, very beautifully put together.
Yeah. It's just obviously you're saying that you're writing things down and you write reviews. I think that's it's kind of another kind of level of kind of really channeling the energy that you get from a film. I think it's really powerful. I mean, in personal development, you talk about writing down your goals and putting that down in words kind of makes it much more real in reality. And it's like a scientifically proven way to achieve goals faster is to write them down, because you're channeling energy is really what you're doing. You're making something that's just kind of some feeling that's just floating around. You're making it very much more real. So I think you just talk about kind of why you write reviews and what you get from it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think a lot of people who do write them, sometimes you'll go a while without, and then suddenly for me, I've just had a sudden burst and I'm just writing non-stop, and I always get very good feedback, which is nice of people. But it's strange because it's not something you think, well, how I do it, it's not something you think about, which is very subconscious, and it just sort of flows out of me. And it's when a film gives me such a special feeling that I have to just write about it. So the few films I've written about recently, it just it just flowed out, and it feels like you're doing a good service for the film. But as much as anything, it's just showing everything that's in the film, or the profound themes in it. You want to show people what it is, and then you want to write it in a way which is hopefully people find beautiful. So it's, in itself, it's just not like a piece of art, but you're trying to create something in itself, not just a film. I mean, almost I think my film reviews aren't reviews; they're pieces of writing that get inspired by the film. But I create almost a whole world inside that writing that I want to represent. But as well as that, I find it quite cathartic. As well, it's just powerful. Especially when you've had such a powerful experience, it just feels right to just get it out. And just to put it all down. But like I said, it's just a subconscious thing that while you're watching the film, you get it and then you just release it. just the power of it flows through you.
Yeah, that's what the kind of point I was trying to make earlier. So you're channeling that energy onto paper, and it becomes much more real. So yeah, it's definitely a powerful process. I recommend people just to journal anyway, even if it's not a film review. Just writing down your thoughts on, getting a book and writing down, journaling, or writing down your goals, or doing a review. I mean, it's
I agree.
There's a lot going on there that under the surface I think a lot of people aren't really initially aware of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't do it because it does take effort. Some of my pieces take me an hour or so. So it does take a while, and you've got to be dedicated to it. But if you just hone it and channel it, you'll be rewarded and fulfilled.
Yeah, awesome. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, that you've embarked on the journey of making a short film called The Rain. I believe it's about 10 minutes long that you're aiming for.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
So just kind of talk us through that, what got you started on that, and what your aim with the film is.
Yeah, so basically it started just as a lot of my ideas just come out of nowhere. Either I see something, or a lot of them are music. Music's great inspiration for me. Just one chord, and it can start off a whole stream of ideas. So originally I had that on It's the Rains, with an S.
The Rains, okay, yeah.
So I wrote that. I wrote the title The Rains, just had a few lines. And that was how I left it for a bit. And then I heard about this competition that's being run. And you had to use a couple of pieces of music from the people who were running it. So then I heard the music, and then that inspired the whole thing. And I literally, in half an hour, just wrote the whole film, just listening to this piece of music, which it's strange, but that's how it happens a lot. But basically, The Rains is, a lot of it is metaphorical, the whole film. The Rains is, there's not really rain in it, but the rains for me represent sort of nature as a whole. Basically it's quite an abstract piece of work, non-linear, and very impressionistic. It's my impression of the world. But I see it as a lot of things. Obviously, whoever watches it, it's open to personal interpretation, but I see it as sort of celebrating the beauty of life, the creation, nature, but then also considering the opposite, like what can be a darkness for some people, and giving light to how some people experience the world, which I believe a lot in. I mean, I see it almost as depression or mental health, because I read a lot about mental health psychology, but hopefully people see it differently. But I've started it and started filming, but I've been amazed and surprised myself, because I mean, this is the first film, and I've heard a lot about it, but people say it changes over time. So at first, I mean, over time, it really feels like a living thing. When I watch the clips, when I back them up, it's quite exciting, because you can really feel something there. But it just continually evolves in ways that surprise me. It just keeps changing and keeps expanding, where you don't really know what it's going to be, which is really what you want. So it's got a real electric to it. And I think in the end, it will be very different from what I originally planned, but that's what I want, really. Just a spontaneous effect. And
it's almost like a spontaneous evolution.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's an evolution, the whole film.
Yeah.
But what really fascinates me is, I think that you couldn't get otherwise, is the film tells you things about yourself and your mind that you wouldn't get if you hadn't done. So, I mean, almost it's seeming, the films I've written and this film, it has, a lot of them have duality of light and darkness, which I wouldn't have realised that otherwise, but I can see there's a big duality. So I think that's interesting what that's saying about me. There's a duality of light and darkness. Just an interesting thing. But yeah, I think it tells you a lot about yourself. But I hope when people watch it, they see, even if they didn't like it, they appreciate the passion, because it's got my soul in the film. My soul is pretty much naked there, even though it's abstract and maybe a radical form and it's not obvious, but my soul is there. Just that's how it wants to express itself in indecipherable form.
Yeah, I suppose that's awesome. Like, I suppose like David Lynch is a kind of classic example of analysis. People trying to analyze what it is, and they come to their own conclusions, but what's coming out is just like incredible. But it's obviously it's something within him. He's not trying to be someone.
No,
it's like a pure stream of consciousness turned into a film.
Yeah,
I suppose that's kind of what you.
That's exactly. It's a pure stream of consciousness. I'm not controlling it, and I don't want to make rigid films at all. I'm very against that. I really want to make a very free film, and I don't want to tell people how to think. I don't want to teach them in an obvious way. I just want them to teach themselves and pick it up from themselves. But yeah, Lynch is obviously is a well-known figure. So I've got a lot of other inspirations, but Lynch is a more well-known one. Is obviously a huge inspiration for a lot of people because he does what he wants. He doesn't care what people think. And he doesn't care about crafting it to standards. He'll just release it and just let it be what it will be.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things you said, like, if people watch a film, you hope they get their own thing from it. And I think that's one of the like amazing things. The films that like kind of energetically with their emotion, so they're so multi-layered that I think every single person that watches a film has their own unique interaction with it.
Yeah,
I think like there are people that will share similar experiences, but like for me watching Dark Knight Rises, there's probably no one that will have that exact same like feeling of like, oh my god.
yeah, exactly.
And so like obviously what your film is your kind of subconscious creation, but everyone that watches it, even if they don't see exactly how your way, they'll get their own kind of experience from it.
Hopefully they'll get a powerful feeling and maybe cathartic. But another thing is about layers. It's also just layers have grown as I've been going on. More and more layers have grown without me controlling it. It's just happened. But with personal interpretation, I think a very powerful and important thing that Lynch said once is that he doesn't own the meanings to his films. He doesn't own the meaning. He doesn't say what it means, which is how I would view it. I don't own the meaning. I made the film, but it was made from my conscious, but it doesn't mean I own it. It belongs to everyone, really, and you want everyone to put themselves into it, which is so important, which is less nowadays, which if we talk about Terrence Malick, his later films, To the Wonder and Outer Cups, a lot of them require the person to put themselves into it. And then it expands. If you don't, then you'll think, oh, what's this? There's not much there. But if you really put yourself into it, then you'll see there's so much life. And there's actually a lot of the person themselves, which you wouldn't see otherwise. But I suppose with my films as well, you have to put yourself into it and really just throw yourself.
Participate almost.
Yeah. Just maybe in an intense way. Just you got to release yourself and throw yourself into it, which I think is very important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, obviously the layers, there's lots of different things to get from a profound film. I think when a film comes to you and it's like, wow, I was supposed to see that almost. I think there's like something that's kind of connecting with an energy within you.
Yeah.
It's kind of meeting that energetic need. And it's very, very powerful. But like you're saying about the spontaneous evolution of thing, I think just to make a point for anything, you're trying to create anything in your life. It doesn't have to be that you're making a film, but when you just take that first step and start putting your focus and your energy into it, things will begin to build up rapidly.
Oh yeah.
And it's like a lot of people are frustrated in life. It's like, oh, I can't do anything, or I just feel stuck, or but they're just jumping from thing to thing. But once you take that step and you prove to the universe that I'm committed to this, I'm going to make it work, things that fall into place amazing. Like it's the same. Cause I don't make films, but I make like music.
Yeah.
And some of the songs that have come from like just kind of shell of a song, you put your energy, your focus into it, and what blooms out, that's just incredible.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I agree. I think the most powerful things in any art form, film, music, or we're talking about film, the most powerful things are the ones that are subconscious and spontaneous, that happen in the moment. Because they're the most electric, they're the most real. If you do things linearly and just plan everything out, I don't think it can ever reach. It can be good, but it can't reach that same feeling.
Magic.
Yeah. If you do it non-linear and abstract, you get that magic that you just wouldn't get from that. So I think the most powerful things in art is just coming from you. Yeah. From your subconscious. Yeah.
Awesome. So just wonder if you could talk a little bit about, obviously you're kind of inspired in yourself to do this film project, and it's something which you're committed to, regardless of what anyone else is doing around you. But I just wonder if you could talk about the importance of kind of, how much it helps surrounding yourself with like-minded people, like who are obviously into the same kind of films or projects of you, and what kind of impact that's had on you as well.
Yeah. So if we talk about people around us rather than inspirations,
like people interacting with on a daily basis.
So I mean, unfortunately around here there's not many people, so I've had to go elsewhere, which is where the internet is coming to use networking, and through that I've found filmmakers, some of them my age, or just people passionate in films. And I'd say as much as anything, as well as anything, has started off me making this film, because people's passions, it just goes into you, and you don't always need it, but if you get it, that's it, you have it. And I think it probably comes in subconsciously over time. But just talk with people is so good, and being friends with other filmmakers as well. They speak the same language, and watching their films is very inspiring, very powerful. So I've watched a few films made by these people, and they're some of the greatest things I've seen, even though they're just people making films in their area. But I think it's important, if you can, definitely try to get people. But me personally, I'm someone who works by myself a lot anyway. So I think, as well as that, you can also just get that feeling from listening to people who are well known, or just watching films. It gives me that same kind of feeling, and goes into subconscious and gives you that kind of thinking. So depends who you are really, but if you can, but I think you can get as much as that from listening to people or watching a lot of films, and then eventually it's just in you. So I just feel like it's just in me anyway, so it's there. If you know what I mean.
I think I definitely talk about the internet. I mean, where I am right now, I'm not really surrounded by people like in person that are into the same things that I am, but that's where like this huge power of the internet comes into play now. There's no reason that you can't surround yourself with people who are into like there's Facebook groups, there's forums, and then also talking about, even if you can't join them, you just go on YouTube and you can just watch a director or a motivational speaker or a coach or some music. It's at your fingertips, all the power that you need, really.
But and that's the thing, I don't think it even needs to be limited to what you're doing. Just because I'm doing film, I don't have to just watch filmmakers. I read lots of different areas: psychology, philosophy, even listening to music. I think that all comes in, and it just affects every field. And doing that just makes you whole as a person and able to participate more in your field. But I think just learning anything in general, because they're such intelligent figures, so passionate, so profound, it just transcends barriers, and it doesn't really matter. Just anything you can do, I think, can help you reach that place.
I mean, it's like I said, there's no way you can improve one area of your life and not have it even a subtle knock-on effect or massive knock-on effect to another part of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's your consciousness, and there's no way that can't happen. So
yeah,
I think definitely what he's saying, like, you don't even have to watch necessarily a legendary director talk to be improving your filmmaking.
Yeah, any profound thinker, or I think probably maybe even more than film, or probably around the same music has had a huge effect. And I love music as well as film. It's just given me so many ideas. I just think, I've got some really favourite pieces. As an example, Schubert's Serenade. Just the beginning bit, it just gives you such an amazing feeling, and that gives you electricity, and that has passed through my films. I know it has, and it's helped me create those films. I think music and film are as much connected as anything else, but I just think listening to a really amazing piece of music, of something that really connects with you, it just has such subconscious effects that I don't think you can really say what they are. And they're not conscious, so people maybe struggle to understand it, but I think listening to a piece like that you connect with, it just affects you in so many ways that you don't realise. I believe in that strongly.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
cool. So just to round off this interview then, I just wondered if you could share, for people who like listening and they want to go and find a film that can sit down and focus on, just cut out distractions and have an awesome experience. If you could give me, say, top 3 recommendations for transformational watching.
So I'll just try to think now, and maybe not too obscure. But first, I'd say anyone who hasn't watched many, you definitely need to watch Tree of Life, because that's one of the most beautiful films ever made. Really, it's just astounding that it's not appreciated more. I can't really believe it, but you'll never see humanity represented so much more human, and just such a almost innocent consciousness, stream of consciousness. But just the way it's presented is just amazing, and it can easily bring tears to your eyes many, many times. And Malick is easily one of the best directors working today, and not just a director, but a whole profound thinker, and a philosopher as well. So I recommend that.
That's Tree of Life by Terrence Malick, just for anyone listening. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Second one.
So if we want a bit more obscure, if we go for Werckmeister Harmonies, which is by Béla, which is a Hungarian film. It's a black and white film, but it was made in 2000. So don't be put off that, but it might look old and feel old, but it's quite a modern film. But I've talked to a lot of people about it, filmmakers I've known, and people have had very strong reactions to it. You'll just have to watch it, but basically it's just very, very long takes, which really draw you in, and just the whole idea of it is really nothing you've seen before, and it will just make you question humanity and what it is to be human. I think it must be watched a few times at least just to really get it. But I think you won't find something as human as that as well. And the combination of the soundtrack, which a lot of people just cry over, and the visuals, and the opening scene is beautiful. Then I just think everyone has to try it at least once.
Yeah, Werckmeister Harmony, Béla.
Yeah, Hungarian
film. Yeah, and number 3.
And then obviously I'm on the spot, so there's probably loads of others.
Yeah.
I could have said, but I think if anyone could try it, maybe it's an Andrei Tarkovsky film, and it's called Mirror. But I recommend, because no one told me, which is hard, but I recommend if anyone watches it, don't particularly try and understand it, because it's a very abstract piece of work, and it's a stream of consciousness from the director Tarkovsky. So, but very personal things don't always make sense. So, don't try to make sense of it. But if you just watch it, it's one of the most astounding films ever made. It's just an electrifying experience, a magical experience, and there's nothing really quite like it. You can't really believe someone made it. Very, very magical. Very spiritual film. It'll make you think a lot, but yeah, don't try to understand it, just experience it. And then if you keep watching it again and again, I mean, when I first watched it, I just watched it the next day.
Yeah.
Just didn't think twice. I just had to watch it again. And then you start to understand it more, but it's not even that. It's just what that experience gives you. It makes you feel alive. Like nothing else. It is literally an electrifying experience. So.
True transformation.
Definitely, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out as well. Tarkovsky, Mirror.
Yeah.
Wicked. So that about finishes things. Thank you so much for this, doing this interview.
No, thank you for having me again. It was very good.
I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. So I'll keep you updated on Seb's upcoming film, The Rains. That's about that. So this is Rise of Humanity. Thank you for listening, and until next time. Bye-bye.